So ready to rock and also roll.
You want to start with our sponsor?
Are we doing Facebook Live?
Yes.
Okay,
we're
cool.
on now, so.
We're weak, no signal.
I know. That's,
No,
It only matters if I can't see
I don't wanna
myself.
be weak.
Is it real?
It's real, yeah.
But we're on right now,
You're on right
and we're on Facebook.
Yes.
Oh.
All
there
right.
we go.
Wow.
Well, today, in addition to being sponsored by K-Deer, I'm also feeling that we're being sponsored by my closet from 2010, where I found this scarf. My brother, just so everyone knows, used to play for the Seattle Sounders soccer team. And I found this scarf from when I went to a game for him, and the date of the game is like on this thing. I was like, oh, it's like vintage. July 25,
That's
2010.
brilliant.
I was feeling
Vintage.
Yeah.
2010.
I feel, is that not vintage now?
Oh my God. I
It
feel
is
so
now,
old.
yeah. I mean, you're really tapping another decade almost.
I was like,
2010 was a good year.
because we're almost out of the teens.
Really? Yeah.
We're almost into that 2020 situation, and like,
It's
Oh
a
my
lot.
God.
I mean, how are we feeling about that? All of us together, right?
I'm trying to lose the idea of time.
Right?
I'm trying to.
Not real.
I'm trying
I'm
to
trying
lose
to lose
the idea of time.
I think part of my mind's going into another realm where time doesn't matter.
I mean, it's not the worst realm to be in. All right. Welcome to our podcast. Thank you for being here on and with Here for Savasana.
We're still weak or no signal.
I know, but allegedly we're being watched. I am Bridget. Excuse my sweatiness and grossness. I took class this morning. This is Jennifer. We are the masterminds of Here for... No, your husband Jack is the mastermind of Here for Savasana. We're the talent.
I think at this point, with the amount of emails that came out to us yesterday, that he's telling us what to do.
Yeah, 100%.
That's annoying.
But I like having it.
Let's
See,
flip
you're
it.
married to him.
Flip the
I
paradigm.
like it.
Flip
You're-
the paradigm.
No,
I
you're-
don't like being told what to do.
He was like, someone find music. I was like, I will do it, Jack. I was like, I love this job.
I didn't even listen to what he gave us a few options too, but I was like, oh, I like Sadie's Hate, the one that she didn't like.
Yeah, that she
Yeah,
was like, I'm
that's
not
right.
into this one. And Sadie's
Okay.
my 6-year-old daughter who thinks she's a musical genius. But we are also here because of our sponsor, K-Deer. Most of you in the yoga world are probably familiar with her signature striped leggings. They can be seen on pretty much every amazing yoga teacher that we know. I think Dana Flynn is like almost constantly in a pair of them, right? And a
Yes,
lot of
absolutely.
Instagram's biggest influencers. So if you went to like @K/Deer on Instagram, you're going to see it all over. A quick look at what they do will show you that the brand is committed to diversity of all kinds, and their styles come in sizes from kids all the way up to a 4XL. So women of every shape and size can find something that they love, that fits, that makes them look and feel amazing. So I could not be more proud to like partner with a brand, and I know Jen feels the same way.
I know. They fit ridiculously well. And aside from that, she's raised over $150,000 for charity since she first started in, and I always get this date wrong, 2004?
I think
6?
2011. 2011 in her
11.
childhood bedroom. That's my favorite part. Because like I think about the things that like I've tried to make, like collages. She's making like she made those pants. I'm making like a snowflake, like cutting like the fact that her brain could like create that is amazing to me. And just
Not only that, but she found manufacturing. And I believe it's all domestic.
in the U.S., right?
That's ridiculous because we just don't manufacture in this country anymore.
I know. And the charity info is fantastic. You can find it. Her website is www.k/deer, or I'm sorry, -deer.com. And every single one of their striped pairs of leggings gives back. And they go to all different charities. And they're named for women who are powerful influences in Christine's life. So if you ever went and looked up one of the stories, you'll see this connection that's not just to a charity, but it's inspired by a woman who's inspired Christine. And she's kind of brought them into the fold and brought the charity that speaks to their heart and soul into the fold with her. So it's special. Like her website, it's more than shopping. Right? Can we say that? But let's move on to that delightful accent you hear joining us today.
I am so excited to speak to Deb, and I was thinking about this morning. She is one of the people that I want to hold that is the most special person to me to hold a conversation with in this entire world. There's a small pack of them, and she is one of them. Every time she shares a conversation, whether it's an observation or a like, a dislike, whatever she's going through, like, I want to hear it, because she always gleans some sort of information that I end up thinking about the conversation for a few days.
Oh, that's adorable.
That's a
Thank
Ming
you.
flash, if anyone just caught that. Well, that's
Well-
beautiful, but can we go like who? So Jen gets all the credit on getting Deb here because Deb and Jen are very close. I'm just a super fan of both women. But Deb, Deb, I love you. So can you introduce her
beautiful.
and
Yes.
who she is?
I
Like,
will
let's
tell
do
you
the whole
how I
thing.
met her. I had heard about her through Laughing Lotus, which was a studio that I practiced at for a number of years, and I wasn't practicing there so much when Deb came through, but everyone was like all up in arms. They love Deb, and I was like, who's she?
Right.
Flash forward, I went and took a trip to India in 2016, I think, and she was, aside from Dana Flynn, was the lead of, I think it was her and Dana, I think, the lead of the training. And, we went through the training, but the moments that I remember most about Deb was when coming back from India and getting kind of, we went through what you go through immigration, and
Yeah.
That was like 12 hours, and then
Great.
and then we're sitting in the airport for another like 13 hours, and then they had to, the plane didn't take off, and they put us up in a hotel, and then there's but you're waiting all this time, so you're kind of you get to know people.
Right.
You get to know people.
You're in like a petri dish.
Oh yeah, it was like we're
Right.
never going to leave.
Right.
But it was the best, because I this is where I was introduced to the law of attraction, and we talked about a number of different things, but I think it was like the catalyst or the tipping point for me making a few decisions in my life, my conversation and my few hours with Deb.
Yeah.
And it was where she kind of said, I had heard a law of attraction, but I had no like kind of real personal knowledge or experience. I had a very vague idea of what it was. And she introduced me to Esther and Jerry Hicks, who I think you had studied with. And you spoke about a few other teachers. And it was kind of a revelation. I came back, and a few months that I had left working at Ralph Lauren, I listened to the Law of Attraction series, going in and out of from Esther and Esther and Jerry Hicks, but the voice of Abraham kind of communicating through. But what I really think, because we're talking about the Law of Attraction, if you can, in your own words, describe what the law of attraction is and your introduction into it and your path through it as a student to a teacher of it giving retreats.
Right.
Or-
That's a lot to kind of
Yeah.
chunk out.
Let's go even back a little bit, because not everyone knows Deb yet, though they will when this is over. And Deb, I went on your website and I read your bio, and you have gone through fitness, wellness industry. You've done trainings with incredible humans, right? You've done intuitive healing trainings. You've done. I'm very interested that you're a colon hydrotherapist on the side, like that you have that
listen,
training.
Nothing is outside of my realm of study, let me tell you.
Right. Bachelor of Applied Science in Parks, Recreation, and Heritage. But if we're in a yoga world, and she's done trainings with Baron Baptiste, you've done things with Noah, you've done things at Laughing Lotus, you've been a senior teacher at multiple studios from Australia to New York City. You worked with Baron Baptiste as a senior facilitator, and now you're really moving in a sense to create a movement, and the law of attraction is a huge piece of that. Am I like understanding that ish correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like all great things that we end up attending to, following, studying, they happen by default. It's like I wasn't looking for this, and the catalyst really was, I've always been interested in picking something apart, like even with my own self-inquiry, which is such a tenement of a yogi, right, is that we review who we are and what's happening and how we be in different situations so that we can come off autopilot and come into the present moment, right? So that's a yogi concept. And there was a particular situation in my personal life going back quite a few years where it was with an ex-partner and a loss of money and a whole heap of things that happened that left me, after all of these years of yoga and sadhana, sitting there going, how the hell did that just go down? Like I actually have no idea how life just dished me that.
Yeah.
When I thought I was so on top of my shit, I thought I was so, I knew who I was and da-da-da. So it kind of threw me into, and the bonus piece of it was that I'd gotten these skin rashes as a result of the stress that I was going through. And it was horrific. It took me out, as in I was still teaching. I was teaching at the time in some hot rooms, and I even struggled to go in there because these rashes were only on my face, kind of around my neck and on my hands. It was literally only where you could see it, which in itself is an interesting manifestation.
Yeah.
So I would, battle my way in to make money, to go in and show up for class. And when I look back now, and this is another piece of it, is like when you're in the light, when you come out of something that's quite dark and heavy, that dark heaviness is not where you discover the gold in it. You just got to get through it, right? And then after that, in hindsight, you look back and you see all of the incredible things that happened inside of it and because of it, right? And one of those things was this vulnerability that came through. Like, it was almost like my skin peeling off my face was exactly what I felt, raw, and I felt exposed. And some new voice came through me. Something more real came out of me than I think it ever has.
Wow.
Right? Because I couldn't hide behind makeup or anything. It was just not possible. So it actually was the perfect storm of things that were happening to actually reveal a deeper piece to me, which, I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, of course, and yet I know that it was my perfect medicine to get me where I was intending to go without even remembering I was intending to go there. On a soul contract kind of level.
Well, we forget how lucky we are to just look normal, which sounds so silly, right? But we lose sight of that walking
100%.
through the world with a
I
quote unquote clear-ish, I have a zit here, but a clear-ish face.
I think we're also very attached to our container and what it reveals as a reflection of who we are on the inside.
But to see
Right.
in the
Especially as a
mirror,
yoga teacher too.
but to have it manifest externally, that does it literally smacks you in the face.
Yeah, there's no greater way to get your attention.
100%.
You know what I mean? That to me was I was very clear at the time that even though people go, oh, you're just stressed, that's not how I operate as a being. I knew deep down I was revealing something about myself. I already had that sense, which was a help and also a hindrance. Right, because I was so deep in this, something's burning off, and I'm relieving myself of past karma, and I was going to ashrams and meditating, and I was in that, and simultaneously was not walking into a medical doctor, and my skin was infected.
Yeah.
Right. So I learned this. I have to live in both worlds, and I remember one beautiful healer saying to me, you probably lived for many lifetimes where you knew you could self-heal. And he said to me, but you've come back this lifetime in a contract where you actually work with people in healing modalities. And so you have to be able to have your energy around whatever choice they would make on their healing journey. And he said, so for example, if they chose Western medicine as part of their healing, you would have an issue with that. And I remember thinking, I looked at him, my face was a bit puzzled, and how dare I have an issue with that, And I said, I don't know. I feel like I would allow them to make choices. And he said, it's not possible. If you've drawn a line between you and something, that line will always be there, whether it's someone else's choice or whether it's yours. And I was like, wow.
Whoa.
And
wait, can you say that again? If you draw a line, it'll always...
It's always there.
Draw a line.
And it doesn't matter if you can say, oh, yeah, I'm okay if you choose that, but you're actually not, because you have a problem with the thing that's being chosen, right? And so he said to me, I often find, he was a beautiful acupuncturist, he said, I often find that people who have come here at this point in time to work for the greater good in any healing modality, we're taught big lessons. And he said, for you, it feels like you're being given a set of conditions that will help you embrace Western medicine as much as you've embraced esoteric or alternative medicine. And he said, and then you become a genuine holistic healer.
Wow.
And he said, he said, and equally as such, I've worked with medical practitioners, and right when they've been dealing with something personally, medicine has failed them. And the thing that helps them heal was some other alternate medicine. And then they become incredible doctors because of that experience.
But they needed
So
to
I
be
was
believers. It's like they had to.
You have to be open.
I think. But they had to see it to believe it, I guess.
The balance between
That's
two
true. Yeah,
worlds
which is exactly right.
Right.
So having said, all of this as I guess, a lead in. So I was having my own experience inside of these conditions. And what was strong coming through me was, I want to know, I believe on all levels that some part of me created that situation. Now, I logically don't want to believe that. I do not want to believe that I could co-create someone who stole my money and come in and do this, whatever the set of conditions was in that regard. It's hard to admit that we can't believe in the law of attraction, and then when things don't go our way, don't believe in it, right?
This was
so it's like it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, I decided just for my own self that I would I wanted to learn more about what we send out that gives us stuff back. So that's as simple as where it started.
So
and of course, my commitment then was, I'm not going to be in another relationship until I clean up this energy structure that I am, right? Otherwise, I'm welcoming more of the same. And for whatever reason, on a deep level, I understood that to be true, even though I didn't have the study in this lifetime. Do you know what I mean? To give me that, it was just a deep truth that really resonated. So,
I remember.
So off I go, and of course, bit by bit, I'm teaching a yoga class in Melbourne, and I would drizzle in some truth bombs about it and all the things I was studying. And there are many and varied teachers. And at the time, I was interested in the work, as Jen said, in Esther and Abraham Hicks, and I was listening to a lot of that. And so I was just kind of dropping in a few little things. And people were coming up and they said to me, you do yoga retreats, right? Can you do one on this whole thing? And I thought immediately, no, I'm not qualified. Like, don't be stupid.
Right.
And which is often, I think, you speak to anyone who's on a creative path, one of the biggest things to face down is that you don't know enough, right?
Getting
or that
over
you're not qualified
yourself.
or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I actually put myself right in the mouth of that and just advertised a weekend retreat on it and thought, you know what? Just get out in front of it.
So when you're going to describe it, like if you're going to put out a retreat, even back then, and someone wanted you to give like the elevator pitch, like what is the law of attraction?
Well, I would say it like this, that it is a universal guiding principle that determines how the fields of energy work on this planet. In our particular construct of where we live, there are certain governing scientific laws that hold true. And so one way I say it to people is this: just if you don't believe in the law of gravity, let's say, you're still not going to fall over, right? So belief isn't one of the factors in this regard. The law of attraction is the law of how energy behaves, how it works, right? And it's working like that all of the time, just like gravity is, whether you believe in it or not. So I'd say to people, with that being a fair statement, then isn't it better to hurry up and educate ourselves in it so that we are working with it, not against it? Or we're not manifesting by default. We actually are stepping into mastery. We're stepping into opening the big old gateway that maybe I am a vibratory being. Maybe I am a powerful force of energy and not just a body, right? And so that was like the way in for me. Is like, hey, this is happening whether you want it to or not.
And do you
Life
find
is happening?
Do most people pick up on it? Like it feels a little bit like you were able to pick up on it in that moment of kind of getting screwed and being And I have a really good friend, Meredith, who we'll have on. She's created a whole yoga for endometriosis and thyroid program after some medical issues happened to her. But she's a firm believer, law of attraction, and spoke really recently at an event we did for New Jersey Yoga Collective about how she was in a really toxic marriage. And when she was able to finally step away from that marriage, she, rather than saying, why did this happen to me? She asked herself, what am I doing in my life that made me attract that person, and how do I not attract that person again?
That was actually, and what I remember very poignant about the conversation that we had in India, because I was talking about an abusive marriage with Deb that I had been, and I wasn't blaming, I wasn't like, why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to me? And she almost said it in unison with me. I was like, what was I doing to attract this in, and where do I go from here? And I think that's when she, as I remember it, that's how like the whole conversation of law of attraction and this idea of manifesting by default.
Do a lot
and
of
not
people,
living the life that you're wanting.
So do a lot of people see it in the trenches? Like, is that where you feel like most people recognize the existence like of the law of attraction when they're in a place like that and they decide they don't want to attract that energy anymore?
I think, to be honest, I think that's the rarer person on some levels.
Oh, cool.
Because it takes a level of accountability and self-responsibility to get over the line with that. So when people have a tough situation, in my experience, and so in the yoga world, you're going to come across less of this, right? But let's just say as a general populace, and this is a big statement, most people would prefer to think the good stuff is their cause and the bad stuff is someone else's, right?
Yeah.
So there's this moment where we have to bridge the gap, and I would say this is an inner calling. You don't get there until you're ready. You know, the yogis would say you've collated lucky karma to get to meet the higher truths. And the yogic speak, right? If we adhere to, we have a packet of karma and we recycle through lifetimes till we clear the karma, all with the purpose of fully embodying ourselves as the truth of who we are, heaven on earth. Right, and not always waiting till we die to master energy and to master who we are in form, right? And so there's a distinct pathway that we've been given to do that. And so the pitfalls that we're up against in our, I want to say, Western world or in our human form, however you like to put it, is yes, this attachment to physicality and materialism, and also this lifestyle or way of being that's very much about what we do and what we present rather than who we are. So we've come through cycles of time where we've been brainwashed actually to a certain degree to think a wrong thought, you know, to be in the mire and in the illusion, as the yogis would say. And so this is something that now that my law of attraction retreats back then, they were a weekend, and I was just mic dropping, like bang, here's a truth, here's another truth, you know what I mean? And
awesome.
People were like, holy shit. And once you're ready and you get a taste of it, it's like the first down dog that you know it kind of hurts, but you're going to go back again because afterwards you felt better, but you didn't really know why, and you go back in for more. And so what I was noticing was when I would put up the dates of the next retreat, half of the people, minimum, from the retreat before would immediately book again.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I noticed in India.
That's
too.
amazing. I've never heard anyone say that.
That retreat that I went on to India was through Laughing Lotus.
Right.
But the majority of people were from Australia, and they had done one or two of her retreats in Australia. So
that's surprising. A lot of people don't, I feel like.
I was blown away.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, and I really loved what even that was manifesting for me. So, for example, when I knew half the people have already come and listened to this content, it pushed me to take it to another level, right? It was like, okay, you're going to come at it here, but what's the next piece? Because if I'm constantly in the practices of it, then I'm evolving too. So I just can't keep presenting the same thing.
Right.
Like that would be like death right there.
So
it's got to have this aliveness to it. And so the blessing of these people coming back was that if you want to consider it a type A personality or however we see that, the beauty of that personality is we're driven. We're driven to go again and go more. And it can be, our gold and also our Achilles heel when it's out of balance. And so I really took it upon myself to let it be the thing that made these retreats something very special. And so it got to the point, actually, was back in Melbourne over Christmas, and two of the ladies I caught up with in the yoga classes I taught, and they have done 11 of my 17 retreats and have just booked India with me this year, which is hysterical.
Wow.
And can you tell me can you tell me how they have evolved through those 11 retreats? Because I imagine you know them fairly well at this point.
Actually, when I see them, and they're a phenomenal couple, actually. They're real go-ahead people, and there is this aliveness to them and excitement about life. You see, when we really get these tools, nothing can pull us under because we're in the driver's seat.
Right.
So all of a sudden, Monday morning's not a problem. Monday morning's like, let me at it. Right? And even inside of having a job or whatever we maybe before thought were restrictive conditions, they're actually gifts that we work with. Right? And so that's what I see in them, is like, bit by bit, they've, like the repeated down dog, right? They're mastering it. They're getting better at it. They're like, now what? Now what? Now what? And so I really feel, they are the mirror of how I see this work. It's evolved to the point now where now I'm sharing the teachings at a place on this planet that has a high vibration, and you'll get it like nowhere else.
India,
There's
right?
something special that happens there in Rishikesh. It's in northern India. And Rishikesh is the home of the rishis, and the rishis are the saints or the sages or the seers. And so this place on earth has a name that tells us that these people who had access to higher mind, higher ways of being, and higher vibratory states, they would come to this area to sit inside of that. And one of my teachers there, he's a Swami actually in ashram, and had the pleasure of having him give me a mantra in my first trip there, and just, the alignment that you feel with someone, and I was fairly certain he would play a key role. And he said on one trip, maybe it was last year when I was there, he said, you just come here and sit and breathe, and the teachings will become part of you. Like they're there, it's like they're in the grid, they're in the atmosphere. And so my experience is I've now extrapolated this body of work over 7 days. And where it begins, which is really exciting, because my mind is actually quite scientific. And I want to say in the West, we need evidence. We need to understand before we'll add more faith to the process or more belief in the process. Yeah. Whereas the experience in
India is you
India
have
as an
faith
example.
Before.
Right, this faith is kind of inbuilt, ritualizing your day and, having these processes that keep you in alignment, right? And we've slipped away from that somewhat. So from the get-go, I introduced E=mc². We get at it from Einstein's teachings of energy is vibrating matter, and they cannot be separated. So how do we start unpacking all of this? And I go through the science of sacred geometry and build the universe from the void all the way through to the matter. And this is fact, right? This is what science is proving. So I find when I see people listening to this piece, you've got 100% buy-in because we haven't thrown them off yet. It's like, oh, this is science. Science, I'll understand that, And so it's kind of like building this confidence and evidence before we get to the piece, because there is a moment with science to understand this work, we drop into quantum science, and the quantum leap is a real thing. It's literally a leap of faith. And the only reason that we say it like this in the realm we are now is science can only prove so much based on the instruments available at that time. And I speak about the work of Nikola Tesla, who you may know as the Tesla car that Elon Musk put together, and it was such a nod to Tesla's work. And of course, he was a scientist back in the day, 1900s in New York, and he was ahead of his time in a lot of ways. And so he was actually doing experiments, creating experiments that he was building a Wi-Fi tower then out in Long Island. Like you look at his studies and people just didn't know what to think of him. He was born in a lightning storm. He understood energy in ways that people didn't. What interests me about his work was later in his life, Swami Vivekananda from India sought him out and said he'll be the one that proves what the Vedas have been saying all along. I was like, whoa. And Nikola Tesla's latest works, his latest patents, had words in them like prana, right? He understood spanda and the pulse of the universe. And he even said, no one has words in a language that gets it quite like the Indian Vedas. And the Vedas, of course, were the book of science, is how to manipulate the elemental universe. And then the Upanishads became the contemplations of that, the how do we do that, the more inquiry of that, right? And so the information has been stepped down over time. And he really got it, you know. And so the people looking at Tesla are like, that's not going to work, because they haven't taken the quantum leap that he already had, you know, in that understanding. And so, of course, what fascinates me about his work is that the government said, no, he's not a threat to us. And the day that he died in the New Yorker hotel, the government came in and seized 300 of his patents. He's not a threat. We'll take those, right?
Right, then why would you even do that?
It's kind of, to me, this stuff gets really fascinating, because the next piece that I introduce on my retreats is how our planet has gone through, and I can say this, you know, matter-of-factly, and then I can also go at it from quite an esoteric place. And some people might get lost in that, but that's okay. You know what I mean? But what I say is, there is a time on this planet, a historical piece of time, where these teachings were taken away from the general populace. That's a fact. If we look at it in India, the teachings of the Vedas and the techniques of the Vedas were only given to Brahmins. And you had to pay a Brahmin to come and do a ritual, a puja in your home to shift the energy of your home. You didn't know how to do it yourself. You weren't allowed to learn that, you see? And then I go into the teachings of the Old Testament to the New Testament of the Bible. And when the Emperor Constantine in the 13th century made the shift from Old to New Testament, he left out 2 sentences that tell the populace how to co-create with energetic forces in their own being, in their own bodies, how to bring heaven to earth. And so I went down this rabbit hole of study myself, and I'm like, I've got to tell this to people. Like, we've actually been sitting in the dark.
Thank God
right?
this is recorded.
So what
what
were the 2 sentences?
Say again, sorry, what was that?
Does anyone know what the 2 sentences were?
Oh, yeah, they're in my manual when you come to India.
When we come to India.
You went!
But right? No, I actually take people on this journey. And at my retreat, I had Catholics, I had Hindi people, I had Jewish people. You know, I have people from many and varied backgrounds. And my intention was to sit in a space where I speak so universally and give enough specifics that are not threatening and they're not offensive. That all of us can get to this common place where we understand we're all the same, right? And somehow we've all lived our way through the dark times. We've all had to fight our way back to the light when information was taken away from us. We go into the study of sound, because that's such a big piece of it. You can look at North Korea, that radio stations run a certain pitch frequency. Right? The joy states are a higher frequency. Sounds elicit that. You know, sounds inspire that. And in over populations in different places of the world, I'm using North Korea as one of them, but radio stations were hijacked to a certain frequency to keep the populace in a numb place, a place that doesn't reach for joy or happiness, or even higher minds, right? I share about the work of Beethoven, the great composers, you know, and Beethoven's symphonies that came in. They said that he brought in through his symphonies, and of course he was deaf, so he saw his symphonies through light, color, right? And sound becomes light 40 octaves above the set point of your average piano keyboard, right? So 40 octaves later, you can't hear it, you can see it, okay? And so he could see this, and he stepped them down into sound after seeing them as light. And there was this wonderful study that said that he brought through the essence, the sound, the keynote of compassion. And that after one of his great symphonies, the very first charity was formed on the planet. Like, he inspired people through music to want to help each other. And so there's such a journey that goes with this. And so I also remember Baron Baptiste saying one day, if you aren't sharing what you're passionate about, if you are not sharing what you could sit up all night reading about, studying, whatever, if you're not sharing that as your work, he said, excuse the F-bomb, he said, you're being fucking stingy. And I was like, suck numb. And there it is. So that in itself took away, I don't know enough. It got to, how dare I not share this excitement? Because it's compelling, right? And not everyone wants to go and sit and do what I would do and go down the rabbit hole of the Old Testament, the New Testament, the freaking Vedas, start to look at this, start to read about the great composers. No, that's why we go and study with people, because they're going to condense it, right? And give us the, if that's it, how do I use it form, right? And so that's my prayer for myself. That's what I want to do. That's what I am doing. It's like I want to break this down. I love to tell a story. I love sharing in stories, and that's how we love to learn. And so it's such a joy that I get to take people to this beautiful, one of my happiest places on this planet, to sit with the energy of the masters and unpack it all and then repackage it as a practice. As now you get to experiment. You get to get so excited. Your life is the best cosmic experiment you've ever had, right? And I use the word experiment because forget trying to get it right or be perfect in it. It's actually, oh, wow. And when I say to people, try this, if you're going for something that you have a clear vision of what you want to create for yourself, you start setting the energetic conditions. I go through all the techniques of using the third eye, using the heart chakra frequency, stepping it through the triad. We have 3 aspects to the way that we create. We have to use the pineal gland, the brain, and the heart, right? And we have to get these pulse frequencies working together, and that's a practice because for most of us, the brain's thinking one thing and the emotions are off doing their thing, and our inner eye's giving us a wonderful vision for our lives, but we're caught up in, I can't do that, I don't have enough resources, how the hell would that happen? Right. So we're not congruent, and so we've got to be patient as we coax ourselves back into this wonderful space of alignment. And then when we get it, the manifests are so fast that it's almost shocking.
So
it's almost shocking.
I have 3 questions for you. Number 1, do you only do this retreat once a year?
My answer is at this year, yes. I have one plan. My plan is no, but I really want to. This is what I see. My inner vision sees. This is what I feel will be true. I want to make it super accessible. So I do want to have an online program. It's such that you would go through this.
That was my 3rd question.
I wanted to know what's the next level from retreats.
Well, my second question was going to be, is there going to be something in the New York / New Jersey / Inlet Yoga? Right. Are you open to doing this down here for like a weekend? And then my third one was going to be online.
Put this in there. We had Deb as part of a training from Laughing Lotus. And she was signing up for we had people go to her just from spending 10 hours or whatever with her. They were like, yes, we want to study more with Deb. And they went to India with her. Right. And I cannot tell you, they're like, when is Deb coming back? When is Deb coming back?
Right.
So it's like she does have that energy.
I was trying to get that.
We want more.
Right. I was trying to get if there was a chance of us having a weekend opportunity to share this and study it, because I mean, so much of what you're saying, like, I have to be completely honest, like, my understanding of the law of attraction before we talked to you was super surface, super like,
there's so many all the different avenues.
But you've read all the
perspective on it.
And I love My Body Green. I love Yoga Journal. I love all those things. But you read that people will be like, 7 steps to the law of attraction, 5 ways to live the law of attraction. And to me, it was
like to simplify, don't we?
It was kind of like an adult way, it was very simple.
I love that you just said that.
Yeah. This is so different.
Something I will say on that is, the work of Jerry and Esther Hicks, or Esther Hicks as she channels the energy of Abraham, is very beautiful. It's very poignant and correct and all of that. Mm-hmm. And in my truth as I went along, is like if we oversimplify it, people don't believe in it. If you make it sound so easy.
Well, that was me.
without
I have to be honest.
actually-
I'm in that camp that I was like, it's another thing. It's a vision board workshop. That was how
Right.
a lot of that
I'm
came
just
across.
not on board with vision board
Yeah.
workshops.
But you know what I'm saying?
where
Like that's how a lot
I,
of the articles
so where
come
I
across.
get to, with these retreats is where it kind of breaks open, and this was proven back to me with the 30 people that were with me in India last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I take everyone through a logical teaching process from science to spirituality to how, and you walk out, you're in India and you see this in action. You see people doing pujas, these rituals where they're playing with fire and water. They're using the elements, right? So it's kind of, when you start seeing it from that level, you're like, wow, it's a thing.
Right,
Like,
this is different.
Is a daily practice.
Right.
So I get to that, but then I get to the point, okay, this one day is like, all right, so if it's that easy, what the hell's the problem? Like, let's be honest. If that honestly makes complete sense to you, and everyone agrees it makes complete sense, then what's in our way? And I feel this is the piece that I am contributing to the grand scheme of the law of attraction work, right? I think we all come in with our own little piece of it. To use our yogic perspective, it's our karmic load. It's all of the times we wanted something and we didn't get it, right? It's all the times we had a crack at something and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
We had a relationship and it didn't go the way we thought, right? So we have this residue, right? And if we think about it on an energetic grid, that the base of our being a sound and light structure, like a blueprint that gives rise to our physical form. Okay, and in that energetic structure, we've got congestions. One of the teachers I study with is Judy Sartori. She calls it karmic miasmic patterning, where there are literally congestions in our energetic grid that block us from moving energy to a certain place. Now, this is quantum. This exists in a quantum state, right? So how am I going to get there? How am I going to open up that part of my grid? How am I going to flush that residue out? Well, this is where it gets really exciting. This is what Yogi Bhajan knew. This is what the great teachers know. You've got to hit a quantum problem with a quantum tool, right? Doesn't that just sound logical? Mm-hmm. Like, I can't logically think my way into a bigger quantum grid.
Okay.
I actually I'm going to have to get into some different practices. So maybe it's sound-based practices. I mean, there's a whole thing called mantra that is known to be a powerful force of dislodging and opening up and realigning, right? And so every continent has their own bunch of quantum tools. You know, I loved watching the documentary on the pyramids of Egypt, and there was this one pyramid that is like their medicine pyramid, and there was a slab like a concrete slab in the middle of it. And this guy on the documentary was walking over there, and he said what would happen in here was that a person who was experiencing physical dysfunction, they were having disease, there was something going on in their body, they would go and lie them on this slab and pierce frequencies into this pyramid so that it would bounce off the walls and, you know, in different ways, and they would be able to pitch a certain frequency into that space. And the way that it hit the body would tell them which part of the body, which organ was off pitch in its frequency. Then they would know how to deliver the balancing frequency to delete that pattern.
That's amazing.
It's freaking amazing. Now you can
Is
go on
anyone
YouTube
doing that in New York?
and search. if you
I feel like
search
we're so at ground
on
zero
YouTube,
here, like in the Western culture.
Bladder on YouTube, bladder cancer healing China. Even if you just drop that in YouTube,
Healing China. I'm in it.
Mm-hmm. There is actually a few-minute vid of this one person who's lying on a bed.
Is it Greg Braden?
He does some work in it. His is a very long extrapolation of it. There is actually just a live video that's about 3 minutes.
Oh, okay,
in there.
Okay.
And basically, this person has a bladder cancer. They're lying on a table. There's a couple of practitioners next to them. The woman who has the ultrasound, the camera's behind her looking at the ultrasound board. And on the left side of the ultrasound is a static picture of the bladder with the little, you can see the little tumor mass inside there on the ultrasound. And the other split side of the screen is the live view of her hand on the bladder with the ultrasound equipment, right? And these two practitioners, the doctors that are working there, it takes them 3 minutes of using intention and pitch sounds, interesting sounds. They sound almost like these interesting, fast, like energetic surgery. And while this is happening, you actually watch the bladder cancer disappear.
Yeah, I see the video. This is just unreal.
Mind-blowing. And so I show this stuff to people because I want you to have the evidence that we don't, everything is energetic, and energetic medicine is powerful stuff. Right? And the Chinese are leading the way in sound medicine at the moment. There's incredible things happening over there. Even the fact that we use ultrasounds is a bit of a hint, isn't it? Like it's a sound. There are people doing knee surgeries with sound now.
Well, I see there's a hospital. It's called Chilel, Chilel, and they say it's the largest medicine-less hospital.
Right.
I mean, it's incredible. I mean.
It's incredible. So you'll see, in different cultures, I use that as an example. There's the pyramids, and they had their way of doing it. In India, you'd go to, your teacher would give you a certain mantra for a certain condition. So we actually have access to bodies of knowledge, and the internet, bless us, has opened us up now to be able. We're not so controlled by what we know. We can really go searching for stuff, be that good or bad. And so for me, it's like, I love packaging this up for people. And if the one thing that people get from my retreat is that they leave thinking, I didn't know what I didn't know, then that's enough. Because the world can never look the same after that. Your little box of your life can never, ever be the same.
Well, my question, do people walk away from your retreat ready to do the work, or are they like,
or what's the most
extraordinary
shit?
It was happening on the retreat.
Okay.
So
let me give an example.
Yeah,
of
what's
how
the most
that
extraordinary
happened.
experience? I mean, I was only in an airport with you and my whole life changed.
We did some karmic clearing, and this was big for me. And I'm a pretty good reader of energy. I've not just of study, but I think I've been that as a kid anyway. So I've really loved stepping into that ability. And I had 3 mothers and daughters book on this retreat, and I did say on the first day, my sense is that we are all going to clear something feminine and of generations. And I feel there's some link for this. Every group has their own special karma that they bring to a clearing table.
Right.
But I was picking that up. Anyhow, as it turned out, I studied with Brandon Bays for a time, and ironically, she came back into my life in India at the start of this year. And I knew, I could feel my instinct saying, you've forgotten the tools of hers that I used to use a lot. And so I went off script on my retreat. And I knew, I closed my book and I just said to everyone, close your eyes, and I'm going to lead a quantum healing practice to clear some generational stuff that was the theme of the group, right? So this process maybe took 30 minutes or a little more of a guided meditation, people just sitting presently, listening, and doing this internal process. One person would sob and the whole room would break open into just incredible dispersion of sadness, because that's all tears are. This is the external manifest of something that was caught up in our energy grid.
Right.
So I was very aware that something was lightening and opening and freeing. Okay. And so after this experience, now there were some that shared in our satsang, sat being truth and sangha being in the company of, and so satsang are these moments to share truths. And I said, is anyone willing to share what came up for them? And I won't share the specifics for people, but there were some incredibly profound experiences that one girl said it this way. She said, I would never have believed this pain would not be with me for the rest. She'd resigned herself to, that was my lot in life, that was the experience I had, and it will haunt me till the day I die. And in that moment, she opened her eyes and these tears on her face, and she's looking at me with complete shock. And I'm just sitting there crying. She said, Deb, it's gone. I can't feel it. And everyone in the room could feel that truth. It wasn't temporary. She wasn't going to walk out and all of a sudden it would come back. That is not what just happened there. And so bit by bit this was happening. Now this one person shared with me, she said, yeah, it was really beautiful to see how many people had these massive quantum shifts in that session. And I said, yeah, it's beautiful. And I said, how did it go for you? And she said, oh, I don't know. She said, I don't think I had anything really big to work on. Like I was bringing people in consciously that I might have some ties with, but I wasn't, for me, I didn't have anything as profound as some other people. And I said, okay. And I did introduce the concept a little bit before this process, and I said, when one part of the universe wiggles, another responds, right? And so if you invite someone, and we know this, if you start thinking about someone and the phone rings and it's them, you're kind of not surprised, but you're sort of surprised.
Yes.
It's like, oh, yeah, right? That we actually, Sadhguru says, you have a very good internet, faster than the internet. He makes these wonderful, profound jokes.
That's
right?
awesome.
So I said, just be aware that, we've gone through this process, and many of you, maybe people came into this process that you don't actually know their faces. They were generational ago. These are ancestral connections. Just, that beautiful saying, never doubt in the dark what you know to be true in the light, right? That at the time we were doing this healing, people absolutely knew there was represent ancestral people with them in that room. They knew it. They can't logify it. But at the time, that was an absolute truth. Okay, and one lady said, I could smell my grandmother. She was right behind me.
Oh.
And I was like, no, this is what we're down. It was something of an absolute privilege.
Wow.
I was so humbled by it. I can't even believe it. I remind myself of how incredible it was. And anyhow, and so this one girl said, I don't think I really had anything to work on.
Right.
She said, oh, my sister popped into my mind, We've had an interesting relationship, but not really anything. Well, the next morning we go down the river for silent meditation, and before we walk back to our yoga shala for our morning practice, so we do morning practices before breakfast, so we're on empty stomach, and we're really cleaning our grid. We're using all the yogi tools. I had a sound healer with us. We had sound, we had light, we had all of it going on, and asana and pranayama, and as a cosmic experiment, like let's all do it and see how you feel at the end of the week, right? And so as we're walking back from this precious Ganges river, which is, they say she's the manifest of an answered prayer, we're walking back from the river to the shala, and this one lady comes to me and she said, I just need to tell you what happened this morning. I said, you look like you're in shock or something. What happened? I said, are you okay? She said about 4 or 5 in the morning, India time, her sister called her. And I saw she did, and she said, yeah. She said that we got into this whole conversation. She was crying, I was crying, and we basically were able to come to a place of realizing we never really knew where the other person was coming from. Like in this absolute place of forgiveness rolled out,
so
right?
beautiful.
This place of acceptance happened. And this situation had been a rock in their family, like, how things had played out. And what got me from this was that, and she ended up sharing this to the group, I said, this is what you'll start to really get, that whether you believe it or not, it's working in your favor. It's working in your favor. She didn't believe she had anything to work on.
Right.
And had within 12 hours, her instinct to just see her sister in her inner eye meant that all of the conditions then played out for that situation to be cleared. Now, some people will have a spoken conversation. I said, for those of you who need to clear it live time with someone else to remove that packet of karma, because however it's played out in this lifetime, ending it now can end it for every other generation ahead and behind us. I mean, these are principles of healing.
Is it just that you're clearing out with people? Is it just that you're clearing out with people in this life, or those that have passed?
Of the past. And see, that's where we got to, is like, what if every conversation you clean up, you're the one cleaning it up for your ancestral history. You're the one cleaning it up for the people to come. You're the one, right? It's a problem for you because you came here to heal it because you're awake. You see? Like the thing that I've battled with is when I face it down, that's my gift to humanity. when I go there with the full force of my own consciousness and choose to be in a bigger place, not only do I clear my own energetic grid, you become a teacher of it, not because you ever spoke it, but because that's just how you are now.
And
now you be like that.
So, Deb, do you continue to clear? Like, are there things that come up for you on a regular basis still to this day? Like, so sometimes
only every day.
But that's kind of what I was wondering. It's like when you start doing the work, is it impossible to not keep doing the work, or do you get to a place where there is a sense of peace and you feel like you're sort of ahead of it? I don't like sometimes.
Yeah, I love
right?
that question. I think that in the yoga world, we've said, doing the work, we've used the word work, and that's a shit choice of words in so many ways, because it's actually fun, right? Like,
it sounds a little scary.
But when self-inquiry,
it sounds big.
But when the actual process of it reveals such a profound healing, once we've had that one experience where we just feel like someone took the shackles off us for a second, it's almost addictive. It's like, wow, I don't know what freedom really tastes like if I've always been in bondage. I don't really know what's possible if I was to take the way these non-beliefs or these whatever they are is around me. And so it doesn't have to even be conscious. Right? You could lie in a sound bath and something could leave your being. I say to people, when you lie down, when I went and studied with, just before India actually, I had the privilege of going to a Gong mastery camp with a man called Don Conroe.
Well,
and he's one of Yogi Bhajan's 5 key designated Kundalini teachers. He's 83 years old, and he's coming to the end of his teaching time in this life. And I went and sat on a 4-day retreat in upstate New York and basically just let him vomit out every quantum tool he's ever been given. He is a profound sound healer. He went through everything from the age of Aquarius to this and that. He just kind of went off on stream of consciousness, and I just sat there and imbibed it. And he said, we're moving from Homo sapien to Homo luminous. And I was like, well, if that isn't the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
That really is.
Beautiful. And he said, Yogi Bhajan, he said, the gongs will be part of this. Now, think 5 years ago. Were you going to a gong bath in a yoga studio 5 years ago?
No. It's such a shift that's happening, and that's a question I want to ask you. Like, do you feel like all this work that you're doing and the things you're learning and including all these modalities and the continual, not just self-study, but like you're doing major study. You're doing master's, doctorate degree, deep dive into history and religion. Do you ever get, and I love teaching and practicing yoga, is there ever like a frustration level that you feel just that people show up, unroll their mat, do their thing and leave?
Yeah, you're
and
so next level, Deb. Like where...
Like, is it ever where you just want to grab someone and be like, let's do this, let's go deep?
Well, yeah, it's more than an hour-long asana class.
That's so cool. What I think is, I always say this, people, but we don't know what we don't know, and we don't know what we need till we get it, right? And I've just come off the back of the beautiful super sequencing, presenting in super sequencing at Laughing Lotus last week, the week before. And I say this to teachers, if you go in delivering what you think they want to hear, then that's the most disempowered place to come from. And how rude that I think I know what you need.
That's true.
What? It's kind of weird. So my job is to get excited about what I know I'm excited about, and excitement has its own frequency to it. So people just get into that, right? It's like if I start laughing long enough, you're going to just start laughing. You didn't even know why. So it's an interesting study in itself. So I don't need to go this deep in a class, and if the energy is there for it, I read it and I will go there, and I will know that I'm probably talking to a room of teachers, right? And there's probably something else going on there. I just put my post up this morning for my practice this week, and it's so simple. My dharma for this week was I actually had a wonderful weekend on the weekend, right? And I felt myself really joyful and really light. And in that, I realized because I'm such a deep thinker, I don't always let myself just get into the light stuff, right?
Yeah.
And even in the way I can teach very energetically aligned classes, and I can, do very alignment-based stuff. And as a result of what I was inspired by on the weekend, this week's practice is to get in the joy zone by lightening up, right? So how many people don't want to do that? That's what I'm advertising this week. Come on, I'm going to pump some.
I'm like about to pull up the schedule. I'm like, what days are
Hey,
you
Bridget,
teaching?
can we go to class?
Right. I'm like, what time did you
And
tell
so
us
it's
again?
When
kind
do you
of
teach
like,
again? No,
how do
seriously.
we let ourselves do it? So last night I taught the class that I prepped yesterday for the first time. It was my Monday night run through, and so I had everyone just sit there and smile. This is 6 o'clock in New York City. Now
So they're
smile.
all coming
Keep
out
smiling.
of God knows
And those
what.
of you that, right?
Yeah.
Like those of you that just drop the smile, please
Right.
start smiling again. Keep smiling, because if you keep smiling, the endorphins are going to get you. They're going to get you. So
I
keep
love that.
smiling, right? Now, Yogi Bhajan, he said this, and actually John Conroe kept saying it. He presented this whole weekend with a smile on his face. He said, when you know what I know at this age, you'll wonder why you were never not smiling. And I was like, whew, you are the master, right? So I had everyone smile, and then I made them clap. And then I made them clap again. And smile and clap, and then start cheering themselves on. We haven't even said that. We haven't ohmed yet. So I had this full room of people clapping, laughing, smiling, and cheering. At that point, I could have said Savasana, and we'd be done.
Unbelievable.
Right,
And you can do
mastery
that
is
so
simple.
authentically.
It's such a practice, and then
Yes.
how do we take those endorphins that we just charged up through something that was seemingly hysterical? Like, you feel those people resisting it. And I was saying things like, are you the one forcing yourself to smile? Are you getting that? Something in you, for whatever reason, some part of life taught you, maybe you're just not going to be as happy as other people. Maybe you're just going to have to fight a little bit harder. And people are just like tearing up. What if that's not true anymore?
I'm
That
about
doesn't
to
have be
tear up.
true, right? And so this is how I get those deeper concepts, but from a light place. And I said, so, to the sweet sounds of Sia, we're going to get going in a second sacral, very joyful practice.
Yes.
And so I feel like we can modernize ancient teachings.
Love it.
I can make the law of attraction a 60-minute class if that's what my Dharma is today. Then I'm going to challenge myself to do just that and enjoy the process of it. So, and I think there's something in me, a teacher recently that I spoke to said, go and get this book called Die Empty. I haven't read the whole book, but right in the beginning of the book, it refers to, the graveyards being the richest places on the planet because so many great ideas, so many wonderful things died with people that didn't have the guts, And I just feel like that's not going to be me. I'm so passionate, and I really want to share, and I really want to help people, and I want to take people to wonderful places and give them and let them be so excited that they've got a whole bunch of new tools that when they leave a retreat, it's not like, oh, I have to go back to the real world. It's like, I can't wait to go back and start up-leveling and enjoying and experimenting and sharing and stepping into whatever their soul has given them in their inner vision. Whatever excites them for their lives, it's for the taking. I said in the class last night, did you know the universe doesn't give you a vision of what will make you so excited like it's dangling a carrot and then taking it away? That's not a truth. Life taught us that we can't have what we want. Now we have to reframe that shit. Like, hell no. If you have the first manifest in the abode of Shiva, if that comes to you in your inner eye, this great idea for a business, this instinct to go on a holiday there, then your next best thought is, thank you, universe. I can't wait to see how you resource me for that one. You see? Not, shit, how am I going to do that? I can't wait to see. Clearly it's going to happen. You've already showed me that. Now I can't wait to be on the blind path with you. I'm going to follow the breadcrumbs. I'm going to stay energetically awake. I'm going to do my practices in the morning and keep aligning myself. And, I'm going to be in this. And it's a sure thing. You play it at that level, it's a sure thing.
Well, Deb, to listen to you and what I hear coming across in so many different beautiful things you've said, different vignettes, different quotable moments. I can't stop typing your words, to be honest.
It's nice to know you're doing that too.
Right?
Down.
The work you're doing on yourself, your willingness to keep unpacking, it's almost like you're able to shed the fog that so many people just walk around in. Like you're so open, you're so willing to get like the unpack. You're light. And light enables you to be joyful, and joyful enables you to get excited. And like that's so your excitement is so palpable, it's tangible, it's real, and it makes me want to be like, let me unpack my suitcase of bullshit, because I want that feeling. I know the things I'm excited about, but sometimes we allow life to exhaust us instead.
I do feel, and having been in several trainings with Deb, that she has a level of commitment that some of us lose. A lot of us lose along the way. Something jumps out at us. We get dragged down,
dragged down.
Yeah, it's like I don't feel like it's not that you're not human, because you're completely relatable. But it's not like you don't get that dragged down, but you push yourself back up. The commitment is so beautiful. It's beautiful.
Because you're willing to keep
thank you. And I feel that's where, for me to serve on greater levels now, is more of this. I mean, and I know you get it. It's like we've got to put our doubts to the side, right? And so for me, it's like, okay, retreats are one thing, and they're a great way to have darshan, to sit with teachers, to sit in the presence of truth. But we have this wonderful thing called the internet, right? And I really committed now to making sure I can do some short little lecture stuff for people to start to understand. And
I can't wait for it, Deb.
Maybe there's like that little prerequisite. You just listen to a few of these, and then if you feel super inspired, then a retreat might make sense. And then what I really feel passionate about, just to throw this in at the back end now, is, and you alluded to it, Jennifer, is commitment's a big thing, and new habits are a big thing. So I'm looking to do like a 40-day daily practice sadhana, right? To actually let's do it together. Wake up, this is what we're all doing today, right? Because it has to become a daily practice.
What's your timeline?
Yeah, until it's our
when
default.
When are we starting?
What's your timeline for doing these little online vignettes? Or I would be even interested in 5 minutes. Just online, whether it's a Facebook community or what. What are you looking at? What are you thinking about? When can we start expecting this for those of us out there who can't, pick up and go to India right away? I will be going to India with you, I swear to God.
This is a process for this year for me. I've really committed to doing the work, and it means I have to change my life and lifestyle quite a lot to get this done. And so that's the process that I'm in at the moment. I am going over to, just next level geeking out, I'm going to a symposium in Switzerland in June with Judy Sartori.
Oh,
and
really?
It's
wonderful.
Yeah, it's on the sound of light. Right.
I remember
so
when you started studying with her.
And this is an Esther Hicks thing. She would say, procrastination isn't a problem. Procrastination is the energy hasn't lined up yet. Because when the energy's lined up, you get it done in 2 minutes. Right? When you're pushing against the flow, it's tough. So I've been trying to start this, and I've got my notes, and I'm, padding it out, but something tells me, like, my truth is, there's a missing link, it's going to drop in, and bang, it'll get done so fast, right? And so I'm really sitting inside of that, and just kind of lining up the people that can help me. I don't have an interactive website. I've got another website name. The irony of this one was in India a couple of years back. I had people from Australia again talking about my retreats to some of the Americans on the retreat, and they were saying, when are you going to do this in America and this and that, and after all these retreats finished, or these teacher trainings finished, I was there in India on my own, and I sat by the river, and I was like, all right, universe, if I'm actually meant to go down the path of the law of attraction in a teaching way, in a sharing way, then I'm going to need a bigger sign, because I'm kind of in my own way. Like, I don't think I'm saying anything super original. I don't know if, like going through that doubt phase, but I'm like, you know what? So how about you smack me between the eyes with it and give me a sign, and I'll go. If the sign comes, I'll go. So I get back from India. About 3 days later, I get this email from my website, through my personal website, which, has been sitting there and relatively not doing much. And I get this email, and this woman says, hi, my name's so-and-so, so-and-so, and my business is this. And she said, I see that you do retreats around the law of attraction. And she was like, this was going to be an avenue that I would go down with my teachings. It turns out that it's not. So I'm wondering if you would like to buy these website domain names before I put them out for public sale.
Crazy.
Law-of-attraction-retreats.com and LOA-retreats.com. And I just couldn't have laughed louder.
Right.
Right. And I wrote back and I shared that with her. I said, listen, this is just humorous. And she said,
That's
I think
amazing.
I've been right? She said, I think I've been babysitting these for you.
Oh.
And it was just such a, this wonderful proof. If we ask, it's going to be given. If we ask for help, if we ask for signs and we stay awake, like every day we're being guided. We just got to wake up a little more, energetically and be aware. And and so that's where I'm at now is I've got these websites and I'm developing the content and all going to plan, by the end of the year. I would love to have it at the end of the next retreat in India that I'm set to go into the new year with a 40-day sadhana, like a 40-day practice to really hone it. Because you have to practice it. Like that will become key. Once we do, the wonderful thing about retreats is I feel like, my sense is, the retreats are going to offload karma quicker. For many reasons. One is just collective resonance. You know what I mean? You have this cohesion when you get a group. You have a different power that comes through.
And you're stopping everything in life to concentrate only on this. You're taking the time out of your life for this. So I think that's just such an incredible, aside from the logistics of where it is, taking you out of your environment, like not doing like a local retreat in New York or something, but taking yourself completely out of your environment and your own shit and going there just right then and there starts to change things.
Right then and there. It's 100% true.
I think you have a huge audience locally, New York, New Jersey, though, that would love to see some sort of a weekend,
I love the way you keep coming back to that.
I know. I can't get away from it because I feel
I think it's a teaser for something larger,
right?
Because a lot of people just won't jump into a plane and commit to a week, 2 weeks in India.
Yeah, thanks for saying that, Jen, because that's what I've really realized is the people that are coming with me, they have regular contact with me, or they have had regular contact.
They're
with
ready
me.
for the deep dive,
right? They're already speaking my language.
How can we help
you? And so that's identified that that I have to do the intermediary work now, online, in workshops, packaging, so that people can have their own way in. And you know what it is? Like some people might just do one workshop and that's enough, and that spins them into their own study and off they go on their own path, you see. So it's not always going to be me, but my intention is that I really set a fire enough for the people that are ready to take it on, because here's the overarching bit for all of it, and it's probably a great place to kind of tie it all up. Why would we want to master the law of attraction anyway? Like, why would we want to do it? Okay, well,
to me, it's like you're saying no matter what, it's happening, and I see 100% what you're saying. Like, the situation, this is the world, this is the universe, this is the energy, this, what's the one quote that I wrote that you said at the very beginning, right? Like, we can't believe in the law of attraction and then not believe in it when things don't go our way, right? And it's this guiding principle, and belief isn't one of the factors. That's what you said. It's the law of how energy behaves. It just works. So if it's just working, right? I'm using gravity to my advantage every day. Right? Why wouldn't I hope?
Happily so.
Why wouldn't I hope in some way, advantage maybe isn't the right word, but that I can harness the power of this law, of this reality, to get more excited about life, to feel lighter, to unpack more, to make deeper connections. Like, why not live this life in a juicier, more fulfilling way? Right.
And that's where you've just gotten it to. And what I often share is like, at the because we will be happy. That's why we should do this, because we'll be happy. And when we're happy, we're spreading the good stuff, right? And when we're in joy, we become, you become the teachers on the planet. You become the people, you become the leaders of your young children. You become, like, this is how it has to happen, right? And there's some beautiful thing that's almost like, when you're in love, put it that way, you think about like the feeling of being in love with someone. Like if you've had that experience, whether it's a cat or a person, matters not. But that expanded feeling of in love, there's no dis-ease in the body at that point. You're not sick, right? got all these ideas. You think you're unstoppable. It's wonderful. And that's the gift someone can give us, or a tech is that they didn't put the love inside of us. Their beingness exposed our deepest truth, which is we are love. That's our natural set point. And so this work actually helps us inhabit this place daily, no matter the external conditions, right? No matter what. But what's interesting is because we then start inhabiting these beautiful conditions of love, the external has to change. So we meet people that are loving, right? We have more fun times than not. We're in the right place at the right time to help someone who needed our help. We're in, like, the nature of energy is so incredibly intelligent that our lives just become carried by a force of love. And that's what excites me. That's where, and I love that Esther Hicks goes out there and she says this, or Abraham says this over and over again. Go and manifest as many cars as you want and houses as you want, right? So don't be afraid of being in the material world. And I say to people, otherwise we would be in etheric mist, right? We came here to inhabit form and enjoy all the wonderful things that go with that. But when we make a marriage with our own force of energy, we know that we can have it, not have it, it doesn't matter, create it again, let it go, create it again. It just becomes immaterial at some point, right? But then my last piece for me that is that's deep in my heart is this one. And actually a healer told me this in a session years ago, a sound healer. She said, you inspire a body of work that has people become so abundant that they start to give it away, and you contribute to the balance of wealth on the planet. And I just started crying. And I thought, that is a great use of my lifetime.
Yes.
That would make me so happy.
Amazing.
You know, that we don't lead these spiritual lives like a monk with no abundance. I say to people, do people know that Mother Teresa flew first class?
What?
She never showed up on empty. She never showed up without her tank full. You know, and I just, if we're going to serve, we have to be more full. We can't inspire abundance from lack. We can't inspire love from hate. They're all frequencies, and they are juxtaposed. Right? We've got to come into the one that, like, we have to be joy to bring joy. We've got to be love to bring, and it sounds so cliched, right? And so
no, it doesn't. You're right. You can't inspire abundance from lack. You can't inspire love from hate. You can't come into a situation being like, I can't believe that I'm here right now. This isn't the right situation for me. But then share something amazing.
You won't be able to.
Yeah,
it stops there.
Yeah. Well, it goes back to exactly what you said before. If you draw a line between yourself and something else, that line's always there. So if I'm walking through the door feeling depleted, angry, pissed off at the situation, I'm not going to get past that line. No matter no matter how many cliches I throw at them, right? About like, open your heart, let love move through your fingertips. It's just a bunch of bullshit.
All of us have been there.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of words.
Everyone's been there.
Yeah.
When you teach a class and you're feeling less than
I feel
full.
like, you know, for those of us who feel drawn to this, there is a reason. There is a sole reason. Like, we're going to become happy. We're going to remember we're here to bring heaven onto earth. You know, and I just think that's such a privilege to line up and remember that. We're just, you know, inside ourselves feel it, that we came here to be joy. We came here to figure out what it is we really love and are passionate about, and then just get on with it and have a ball doing it and do it wherever we're called to do it, you know, and be it and hang out with the people who vibe off it. And then all of a sudden it just encompasses everybody. Wouldn't that be the planetary bonus? Here we all are, you know, in this aligned agreement of love, which if you listen to Judy Fattori, Yogi Bhajan, all of these great teachers and masters, they said this was the trajectory of Gaia. Gaia was always going to turn back to the light, and you were always going to be here to contribute to that. And when I hear that, when I hear Cryon's channelings, and he said, those of you that are here now listening to this and hearing these teachings, you know that you answered the call of Gaia to come and help her turn back to the light. You know you were part of that deal.
Wow.
And I hear those words, and every cell in my body just vibrates. It's like, I came here to be light, to share and to love and all those wonderful things. And I feel like if we just remember that much, and people remind us that again and again and again, that the universe is on our side, not against us, that that we have more support than we could ever imagine to pull off things we couldn't imagine, right? More resources at our fingertips, and that's just a reframe. Right, it's a scientific fact, right, that we can actually manifest, and there are people and I mean from how does Esther say it, from nothing to something, from invisible to visible, like bridging those worlds. There are still people, Siddha yogis, that in India they can manifest oil and water to tip out of their palms, and we read the stories. There's a great book about when Jesus lived in India. That'll blow your mind. Talk about turning the water to the wine.
Right.
This is manipulating elements, right? These are city powers. These are written in the Vedas.
Right.
So yeah, maybe we think that's disbelief, that actually and I can see, you get it. When this planet fell into third dimension, when it shifted in vibration, these teachings were lost. They're high vibratory teachings, and they were held by the few to manipulate the masses. So those times have gone. The tipping point happened in 2012. There is more light on this planet than there is dark, despite what you might see on the news. We've already won. Now we're just going to get onto it faster, right? We're going to see the next new leaders come. We're going to see it all happen. These next 5 years will be the most exciting times, that on this planet. There's really going to be some wonderful shifts, and these were written up long ago. The time frame is written long ago. And so I love leaning into those teachings because there's such an assurity there that says, don't worry, you're always headed this way.
Hopefulness and lightness.
Yeah, it is. And so I do think, I often say to people, well, okay, I'm going to throw a lot of stuff out at you at a retreat, and you're not going to believe any of it. You're going to go into your inner barometer and trust what you think is true. You're going to feel truth before you think truth. When truth is spoken, you know it.
So
it's like when your partner's saying, I didn't cheat on you, and they're lying. Doesn't matter what they're saying. And the moment they say, yeah, I did, you're like, thank you. That was truth, right? Truth heals. Truth is incredibly healing, despite what that truth is, And so it's like when the great masters' truths are spoken, the deepest part of our beings are interconnected with that fabric, and we know it. We just know it. Right, and so I love that. I say to people, don't believe a word I say. Believe the energy that comes out of your own being and follow that, because that's every great teacher's teaching. There's the Sadguru, there's the external guru, and there's the inner guru. And when the external teacher's job is done, they will leave, and you're good to go. That's the destined arrangement. It's like, I'll be here until you know who you are, and when you don't need me anymore. It should never be any other way. I'm not holding anyone at ransom. It's like I'm pointing you home, and your inner authority is so much greater than anything else. Right? And so to sit inside of that and be okay with your journey to truth. And as teachers, we have to be okay with where people are at. And you mentioned that before, Bridget, like, when people come to class and they're at a certain level, and I'm talking in a yoga class, I love that, because that's gutsy, isn't it? Like, you don't get, most people that say they're doing yoga for the physicality of it, it's interesting, because they found yoga, even the name of it has a connotation, doesn't it? It's not boxing, it's not running, it's yoga. So, great. I love that you think you're here for the down dog. Something keeps you coming back.
Right.
And we joke about that it's the Savasana, but what is it in Savasana? That feeling of expansion. Oh my God, a feeling of shackles are off. Like call it endorphin. Call it like there's something that goes on there that
emerging.
Isn't attached to. Yeah. So I just do. I think it's really interesting. And truth calls us home. And Muji, the great Indian teacher Muji, he said he tells a story of his process to experiencing enlightenment and samadhi. And he went to an Indian teacher in India years ago, and he sat with him. And he said, I sat there, and my mind was like, everything this guy is saying is bullshit. This is complete crap. I don't believe anything about it. And within, I don't know, days or something, it might even been hours, he actually fell into a spontaneous state of samadhi, and he says it's never left him.
Wow.
And he went back to that teacher years later, had another connection with him, and he told him what happened. And the teacher said, once the serum is in, you can't stop it doing its work.
Wow.
And I thought, oh my Lord, once you hear the teachings of the great masters, you can't stop them doing their work. They're part of you now. They're going to have their own life inside of you. You know, resist as you will.
Right.
That's it's like a flood, right? Those truths are a pulse of energy, and they have a life, and they will go to work inside and help us get home to ourselves faster. And I just remember watching Mooji speak of this and thinking, oh my goodness, I've never heard it clearer. And I often find the people that have the biggest breakthroughs are the ones that have the biggest resistance. Isn't that funny? Right? The ones that didn't think they had anything to work on, leave going, holy moly, you know. Although I took them to Vashista's cave, right? We had a sound healer come with us with gongs to break our magnetic field. And you saw the photos of these people sitting on the beach outside of the sage Vashista's cave up in the Himalayas, sitting on the beach of the river. As soon as we sat down on that earth, the photos look like people aren't even in their bodies. They're gone.
Wow.
I'm mesmerized by these pictures. Wow. And I said to people, we're in the study of energy now. We're going to sit on this beach. Sanjay's going to do his wizardry with sound, and you're going to listen to your inner barometer, and when you feel called, you'll stand up, and you'll either be drawn to Vashista's cave, or you'll walk down the beach to Arundhati's cave, which is his wife. And there's wonderful stories about these caves. And I'd been there again the week before, and I had a profound experience. Like, I couldn't find my mind. In my life, that was the most calm and expanded I've ever felt. It was a phenomenal experience. And I said to people, who knows what you're going to experience, right? Because we're all so different. We all have different energetic grids. So you're just going to go in there and just sit down and hang out, not looking for anything particular, not wanting to experience anything. You're just following your energy.
Right.
And so one by one, people's eyes would go bolt open like they've come out of a deep sleep, and they'd stand up in silence and walk up the beach and go and sit in these caves. And, well, on the bus coming back, there was almost this silence, this reverence. And then we shared it in some satsangs, and I started to pick up pieces of conversations that started on the bus. And some people were like, oh, that Vashista's cave was so dark. It was pitch black. I couldn't see anything except this light in my third eye. And then other people were like, wow, really? It was like daylight in there. I could see everything. And someone else would be like, me too. You know, and no, I couldn't see a thing. I couldn't even find the ground.
Wow.
You know, and everyone had this incredibly moving experience of their own design, you know. And I could just smile. I couldn't get off my face. It was so beautiful to take people to a spiritual place and let them have their own spiritual experience inside of it, and then judge it not. It's not even that, right? There's no right or wrong on this path. There's you experiencing the frequency of mind thoughts with body pulsation, with a subtle body that doesn't exist in form, like all of that. Then these wonderful moments that happen for people where for the first time they felt their own force of energy. You know, they felt themselves to be a force of energy. Now they're like, shit, that might be true. Holy moly. So, you know, what if I am a force of nature? Like, that's enough to shift the whole game. You're just not the same. You know, so that's what is exciting for me, is like I set such a clear intention around my retreats, but it's also quite loose. It's like, for the people that feel magnetically pulled to this work, they're going to know about it.
Right.
That's not for me to figure. They're already going to know. And so the flights will manifest, the money will be there, and all these fabulous things will get them here.
So,
and may each person have such a profound breakthrough at some point that their service to humanity and to themselves becomes so great at the end of 7 days.
Oh, well,
that's
I think we have to. I know A Shared Universe has another podcast coming in, and I don't want to leave this without giving all of your information. So
when your next retreat is, are you looking for yogis to do it? Who you're looking
the
for? To do
website
it?
is
I mean,
DeborahLangley.com. So
Yep.
it's DeborahLangley.com. And you can also find her. We've tagged her on Facebook, but it's Deborah Yoga Langley. So that's a great way to be able to find her as well. She teaches at Laughing Lotus in the city, and her classes and workshops are listed on the website. So you can find Deb in New York, hopefully at Inlet Yoga for something soon. I'll just keep saying it until it happens.
I love that.
I'm
love
attracting
that.
it. I'm
That's how we
attracting it.
manifest.
But the Law of Attraction India Pilgrimage is happening November 9th to the 15th, 2019. And you can learn absolutely everything about it and book your space for the trip on Deb's website. Are you full? Are there spots left?
Bookings have well and truly started, and I limit it for many reasons, but definitely the space of the room that we're in to have the aspect of group cohesion that I want it's a very specific process there as well.
Okay.
So so they're up and racing, and just to bring awareness to people, when you see it on the website, the cost is in Australian dollars. So you'll be so pleasantly surprised when you run that through your calculator, at your converter, at how much cheaper it is. I think it works out to like $1,600 and something US on the conversion at the moment.
Is this retreat good?
And that's everything included. You just get your flights there. We pick you up at the airport and take it from there. So into New Delhi, yeah.
Is this retreat good for everyone, or is it just people who have a practice already in place? Like, what's the outline?
Yeah, I feel like anyone who's got through the end of this podcast and didn't give up, probably that person. like you want to have a natural tendency to be drawn to this information,
Right.
And the rest will then pad out. Like I had people come on the last retreat and say, I haven't really been doing much yoga, and they did every single asana practice on a level they had no idea they could do. Right, and so everything pads around. The key thing is the interest in the law of attraction, and that's anyone. The asana practices, they can all be modified. I certainly don't worry about that, right? So there's a way in for everyone, but definitely the integral point is to want to harness the teachings around energy so we can better understand who we are as an energetic and physical being.
Right.
And so, that's like the prerequisite if I had to say one.
Well, on that
Deb,
wonderful
I so love
note,
you.
thank you so
Thank
much. Thank you so much for coming on with us. You are a phenomenal human being, and I appreciate every word that you've shared, and your time is beyond appreciated, and we hope to see you very soon.
Yes.
Thank
Love you,
you,
Deb.
so
Thank
it's
you
been
so
a
much for
privilege.
this.
I mean, I'll talk about this till the cows come home, as they say. So, thank you so much for for inviting me. It's just the best part of my day. So thank
I will
you so
see
Well,
much.
you
soon,
you have
babe.
to come live next time, so we can see your face.
So. I think we got to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
It'll be before
All
or
right.
after your workshop.
You're wonderful. All right. Have a great day,
Okay, one more time.
everyone.
Thank you, and
Bye. Thank you.
thank you so much. And just everyone, to close out with Jen and I, you can find me on Instagram at Bridget Ripple. You can find Jen through Inlet Yoga. Do you share your personal Instagram?
Yeah, my personal Instagram
Put
is
it out
there.
there.
It's Jvavakos, JVAFAKOS, under my name.
I know. I wasn't sure if yours was private because we're like Instagram friends, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And then
no,
I have
nothing's private.
NJ Yoga Collective, at NJ Yoga Collective, and hashtag NJ Yoga Collective. Jen's is Inlet Yoga Community,
Or
and same on Facebook.
JenniferVavakos.com, or you can find us pretty much anywhere.
And we will have a website for this podcast quite soon.
We actually do. It's called A Shared Universe. We just haven't put the podcast up.
All right.
And thanks to Ming.
Thank you so much. Thanks,
Love
everybody.
it.
All right. Talk to you
Good
guys
on you, ladies.
soon.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Remember when we said we would be 20 minutes?
She was
Yeah,
like,
no,
I'll be
but